In this video, I want to share with you how you can deal with people when they are super disrespectful to you or to people around you. And I'm going to share with you strategies that you can utilize in order for you to know how to go about that. Hi, my name is Martin, and I made it my mission to share with you here my stories, my learnings, and my experiences from life. I share with you openly, authentically, and unapologetically. I'm not holding back. I'm just going to speak the way I think and feel. So, what you see is the real me, and this is what you get. And I made it my mission to support people to live a self-led life, to really stop holding back and start getting into the driver's seat of their own life. Today's topic, I was thinking about it and I was like, what am I going to talk about today? Because there's like a lot of things that I do want to talk about, but I'm like, I want to resonate with it. I want to be aligned with it in the moment when I record the videos. And today I had a massage, and then afterwards I was like, you know what? Let's talk about that topic when people are disrespecting you. Because I've been there not too long ago, well, not even 24 hours ago, and I felt super disrespected. But the thing is, I felt disrespected by two people. One was another person, and one was myself. One was myself. I'm going to say it again. One was myself. Because one of the things that I've come to realize is that very, very often when we are in difficult situations or in any kind of conflict with other people, very often we disrespect ourselves. But where is that coming from? Where is it coming from that we disrespect ourselves, that we go against our own values, that we do things that we are not in alignment with? Things that we feel like we should know better, but we still do them in the way where we feel like, nope, that was not it. It all comes down to one thing: self-worth. Now, self-worth, there's like a lot of definitions out there. There's a lot of like theories, I think, as well out there. And for a very long time, 35 freaking years, I did not understand what self-worth meant. I understood it on like an intellectual level, but I never internalized it. I was always seeking for self-worth to arrive like magic in a kind of way where it's like, oh, I feel it. I feel that self-worth. Until a couple months ago, when I had a conversation with one of my closest friends. She's like a sister to me. And I asked her, I was like, wait, like there's something within me and I'm confused. I'm like, is self-worth actually really a feeling? Or is it something that you do? Is it like, or is it like a combination of actions? And for me, it made click. Through that conversation, I realized that self-worth has nothing to do with it being a feeling. The feeling, yes, there's a feeling connected to it afterwards. But it all starts with action. Meaning, how are you treating yourself? Do you stand up for yourself? How do you talk to yourself? I'm going to share with you 3 things that are connected to that. The first thing is really setting boundaries, setting clear boundaries. Because if you do not have boundaries, then it's like a breeding ground for conflict. Because people are going to cross boundaries, you think you set them, when you actually don't set them. And then there's a conflict. It's like, oh, you crossed my boundaries, or I got triggered. I didn't, like, you did this, you did that. And there's a lot of blame attached to that. But when you set clear boundaries, first for yourself, where you are actually in the awareness of where your boundaries are, only then can you communicate your boundaries with other people in a way that they can understand. Now, when they still do not understand, they still cross the boundaries, there's two things. And that is like the disrespecting part, where it like that part comes in, where people are disrespecting you when they cross your boundaries that you set. And I've done that so many times. Even when I did set boundaries, when people crossed it, I let them. I let them cross the boundaries, and then I got hurt, and then I blamed them. I blamed myself. I went into completely, like in a complete victim mode. And learning about self-love, self-worth, well, self-love, self-worth, it's all connected, but self-worth really. When I understood that it's about action, it's about behavior, then once that kind of awareness and aha moment kicked in, I could start fine-tuning it. I could start making changes. And that affected like the boundaries, where I'm like, okay, I have to communicate boundaries, first setting them myself, and then I have to communicate them. Because only then was I able to yesterday walk away from a person and a situation that crossed my boundaries and my values and everything I stand for. I asked for communication because that is one of my boundaries. I'm like, if there's something like a conflict, whatever, I want clear communication. In a very vulnerable way, not in a blaming way, not in a way where I'm like convincing someone of my own beliefs or whatever, but I just want to have an open, authentic, and vulnerable conversation with anybody that I meet. That is one of the most important things for me. With that person, the response was, I don't think that is going to be good for you. Meaning like, oh, you're not going to like what I have to say. And I'm like, that crossed my boundary, where it's like, it already felt like an attack. Instead of saying like, you know what, we're going to have a conversation. It might be a tough conversation, just so that you know, but I'm still willing to have a conversation with you. But the way it was phrased, and especially what previously also happened, for me was a shock in a way, but at the same time I was like, you know what? I have too much worth to try to convince that person to have a conversation. Because in the end, the conversation wouldn't even have been for me. It would have been for the other person and for us. But now step 2 comes in. One of the most important things is to know, when do you stand up for yourself? When do you go fight for something or go after something? And when do you walk away? And I think a lot of people have a big problem walking away from a situation. Walking away does not mean that you're giving up. It doesn't mean that you are afraid. It just means that you are tuning within yourself and ask yourself the question, does that serve me? Is it worth it to continue down that path? And for me, the clear answer was no. I do not want that. Because during the last few months, during my healing process, self-worth has become one of the most important things for me. And in that situation, I was like, I'm going to walk away. There's no point fighting. There's no point chasing. I'm just going to walk away. It takes a lot of courage. It takes an insane amount of courage to walk away. Let me know in the comments, because I love to hear from people who are watching my videos. Share in the comments, is it difficult for you to walk away even though you feel like this is the right choice? So the first step is to set clear boundaries. for yourself, but also for other people so that you can communicate it and can reduce the potential conflict. The second thing that is incredibly important is, or the second step is to know when you're going to go into a conversation, when you are going after something that is important for you, and when it is time for you to walk away. And the third thing that I recommend that you do is getting clear about your own triggers, your own belief system. Because there's a huge difference between reacting and responding. And a lot of times we are reacting to something other people say. So when someone is disrespecting us, very often we get triggered, we react immediately. We go into a kind of an argument, a fight, because we get hurt, we get triggered, and we're like, I'm not gonna let that person do that to me or say that to me, and we go into like a fight kind of mode. But responding, on the other hand, is it's not coming from like a subconscious part of our mind, but it comes from from like awareness, where you might still feel triggered, but you tune into yourself, and that doesn't have to take like minutes or hours. It can be like the more you practice it, the easier it becomes, and you can do it within like a split second. But acknowledging the feeling and saying, you know what, I know I feel triggered, but I'm going to react differently. Because then it's not a reaction anymore, but it's a response. And responding is super important and effective because then you are in charge and not your emotions, not your subconscious programming, not your triggers, like none of that, but you, the real you, where you reflect, you are aware, you acknowledge it, and you make the decision how you're going to respond to what is being said or done. And that takes a lot of self-knowledge, meaning self-development, self-improvement, healing. Those are things that are required for you to be able to make more responses compared to reactions. So let me recap. The first thing is setting boundaries, setting clear boundaries, because without boundaries, like it's impossible to have the third step implemented. Like without boundaries, it's very difficult to know reaction or response, because you're like, where am I actually? I don't know. Does that even require a response or a reaction? Like, does that even trigger me? If so, why is it triggering me? Like, without the healing and self-reflection process, without boundaries and self-reflection process, it's incredibly confusing to be effective in communications. But if you know exactly where are my boundaries, and if those boundaries are crossed, you are aware of it because you know where they are, and then you can go much easier into a response. The second thing is to know when to stay, when to go after something, when to fight for something, and when to walk away. And the third thing is to really dive into self-healing, self-reflection, self-love, self-worth. Self-worth is connected with everything. And to figure out how to change from reacting to responding. And throughout my own experiences, like having those three things set kind of like in stone for you, it becomes way more easy for you to navigate through life, to move away when it doesn't serve you anymore, to not make other people's behavior your own kind of internal state of being. Because if you're reacting, we just take on the energy of other people. By responding, we're like, you know what, that's not mine. That's not gonna I'm not going to let other people's behavior dictate how I respond. So if you implement that, I'm very, very much convinced that it will change the way you talk to people. It will have a positive impact on relationships. Even if they're already good, I'm sure it's going to make them better. And when people disrespect you, there's one saying, like Les Brown said it, what other people think of you is none of your spiritual business. And when people disrespect you, it says everything about them, but nothing about you. And especially nothing about your worth that you have as a human being. All right. If you like this video, please like, share, and comment. It would mean the world to me. And don't forget to subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. As always, lots of love and a big hug.